Question. What do you do when what you see doesn't look anything like what God has said? What do you do when God is speaking stuff over your life that is not materializing? What do you do when the preacher is preaching about joy and you go home still depressed? I can't get any real people in here today. Everybody brought their church face. What do you do when the preacher is preaching about blessing and the preacher is preaching about peace and your home is full of turmoil and cussing and fussing and fighting and demons and eye-rolling teenagers and messes? I'm saying sometimes what God says doesn't look like what you see. And the enemy loves to use your problems to block your perspective. See, the thing about Jericho, history lesson, Jericho was a very small city. Wasn't too big, but the walls were really high. This was the first city that the Israelites would have to take. Now, after Jericho, they would move on to Ai. And after Ai, they would move on beyond that place. And they would conquest throughout the entire land. And God would give them great victories. But it started with Jericho. Jericho, although not a big city, was a well-defended city. High walls. Jewish historians tell us that in this time there were really only 5 ways to deal with a walled city. But God is about to give his people a strategy that has nothing to do with any of those 5 ways. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes in order to be victorious, you got to be willing to do something that looks ridiculous. And sometimes to win the battle God's way, you got to be willing to do some stuff that won't make any sense. And I'm going to show you that in this passage. One of the wonderful things about worshiping God, one of the wonderful things about coming to church is it lifts your perspective so you can see past the walls. If all you ever see is problems, so Joshua looks up and he sees a walled city. But it doesn't matter what he sees because what God says is his reality. I wanted you to know today that no matter what you're looking at that's staring you in the face, it's not a sign that you're never getting into what God promised. It might just be a sign that the devil has gotten desperate because he knows he can't keep you out much longer.